Dear students, welcome to Vajanti Study. Today I am going to teach you question answer from our English book. Chapter The Invention of Vita Wonk. What trees does Mr. Wonka mention? Which tree does he say lives the longest? Mr. Wonka mentions several trees. The four important ones are the gulfire, oak and bristlecone pine. Of them, he says, bristlecone pine lives the longest. It lives for 4,000 years. How long does this tree live? Where can you find it? Bristlecone pine lives up to 4,000 years. It can be found on the slopes of Fuller Peak in Nevada, USA. How many of the oldest living things can you remember from Mr. Wonka's list? Do you think all these things really exist, or are some of them purely imaginary? Answer is Mr. Wonka mentions many of the oldest things. Some of these things do not really exist. These are purely imaginary. He says he collected a pint of sap from a 4,000-year-old bristlecone pine. He mentioned a list of many things like the toenail clippings of a 160-year-old Russian farmer, an egg of a 200-year-old tortoise, the tail of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia, the whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called Crumpet, an old flea, the tail of a 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet. Why does Mr. Wonka collect items from the oldest things? Do you think this is the right way to begin his invention? Mr. Wonka collects items from the oldest things because he thinks that a drug prepared from them will make the person who consumes it old. This does not seem to be the right way to begin his invention. What happens to the volunteer who swallows 4 drops of the new invention? What is the name of the invention? The volunteer who swallows the 4 drops of the new invention suddenly becomes very old. His hair drops off, his teeth start falling, he begins wrinkling and shriveling up all over. He is a 20-year-old man, but now he looks 75. Why did so many people disappear in the story Vita Wonk? Answer is Mr. Willy Wonka was an inventor. He had invented Wonka Vita. This drug made people younger, but it was too strong. Some people disappeared because their age became minus. Who was Mr. Willy Wonka? How did he become a cause of the disappearance of some people? Mr. Willy Wonka was a great inventor. He invented a drug called Wonka Vita. This made people younger, but it was too powerful, so some people disappeared because their age became minus. Thus, Mr. Wonka became a cause of the disappearance of some people. A man actually became minus 87. It means he will have to wait 87 years to come back on earth. What 2 things were there in the mind of Mr. Wonka as he started to find material for Vita Wonk? How did he succeed? Mr. Wonka had 2 things in his mind. The first was to find the oldest living things in the world. The second was to find that which lives longer than anything else. He succeeded in getting the oldest living thing from bristlecone pine. It grows upon the slopes of Fuller Peak in Nevada, USA. The tree lives for 4,000 years. I hope this video will be helpful to you. Thank you.